Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
It's already happening.
Yeah, we're recording. Someone's gonna have to edit this part out.
No, leave it in.
I was editing an episode yesterday.
Professional.
Remember that time where we had like that 2 minutes of silence when it started?
Yeah.
I left that in. Yeah.
Yeah, good. You should have.
That's how it goes.
The pain is real.
Okay.
Welcome.
Three,
Speak Nerd and
2,
Enter.
1, go.
Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter. We have with us today on the panel, we have Marcus Aurelius, Ricky Ricardo, and of course, fresh from his successful 1995 mission to find John Connor, where he was quoted as saying, "The Galleria, 30th Dan in The Glow, 5th Dan in The Sweet Science of the Welsh Art, Lap Gosh, and an honorary doctorate in kicking ass and chewing bubblegum from FU. But guess what? He's all out of bubblegum. The K-Man."
Well done, sir. Lap gosh. That is a deep cut that only I understand. Well done.
Anyone gets that one. Hey, kudos.
It's a good one.
Thank
Very
you.
good, sir.
Thank you. I'm having to go deep on these.
References.
That's what she said.
By the way, Mark, there's a couple of T-shirt ideas in that intro.
There may be. Taking some notes.
And I'm thinking about making myself an honorary doctorate.
Yeah.
Doctor,
I've attended that university on many an occasion.
Good old FU. The class of
right.
1995 FU.
I'm a tenured professor at FU.
graduate, Sweet Science University.
I'm a repeat student of FU. I failed numerous times. Had to try over and over again. That's right.
I'm still enrolled.
So how are you doing, gentlemen? How are you doing?
Very good.
You look well.
So good.
I'm trimmed.
Well, you look supple.
I was shaving.
Please. Kelly, how you doing, man?
I'm fine, I guess.
I got a question for you. I have a question for all of you.
Yeah.
First, did you see that they're making another Predator?
2, I thought. They were doing 2 more.
Well, they have to do one first before they do another. So, yes,
True.
they're making another one.
Another one.
We'll see how it goes from there. Okay?
I didn't see that. What's the setting for this
Oh,
one?
no.
I don't know. They haven't said. Since the first one, well, the remake they did, what's his name? The guy who did it?
Christopher Nolan?
What is it?
Christopher Nolan?
Are you talking about Prey? The guy who did Prey?
Yes, the one who did Prey.
I don't remember his name. I
can't remember either. He did 10 Cloverfield Lane. And one of the movies I like a lot. I like 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Interweb, help us.
And
Working on it. Dan, with Trachtenberg?
Doesn't sound right. No, that's not it.
The director of Prey, 2022.
That guy.
It's right. Dan Trachtenberg.
Yeah.
Fred Savage.
Anywho.
Fred Savage. We're going to say it's Fred Savage.
Fred Savage.
You know, oddly enough, that works. Fred Savage, director
Fred
of
Savage.
Prey and Predator Prey. Yes, that does work. Yeah, I don't know what the setting's supposed to be. I just heard about them making another one just yesterday. So
I heard one of the ideas they pitched was it takes place in ancient Japan. Samurai.
Oh, that's right. No. I heard one of them's supposed to be futuristic or in the future. So I guess, I don't know, they're bouncing around or something. Hopefully in one of these he wins. I'm tired of seeing him. I'm tired of seeing him get. Speaking of somebody from FU, I'm just tired of seeing him lose all the time. You know, it'd be nice to see a win or something in the comic.
They're supposed to be this highfalutin, galaxy-crushing predator creature. It's in the name. They're a predator, and they just don't seem to be able to conquer anyone. From
anything
Earth, ever.
Anything. Yeah. Yeah, just worse and worse.
Little female women, commandos.
Well, look, there's no drama if you make a movie about how successful they are, right? They want to zoom in on the rare times
Jason
they were able to be defeated by Danny
Friday
Glover.
the 13th.
Jason won every time.
You make a whole series on that. How successful they are at beating everybody.
Okay,
Absolutely.
well, anyway, according to Variety, a new standalone Predator movie is in the works at 20th Century Studios with Dan Trachtenberg set to direct. The plot details for Badlands is what they're calling it, which is set in the future, are currently under wraps, but the film will begin production this year.
Old West.
Predator Badlands.
Do what?
Old West, maybe?
Yes.
Old West.
West.
Yeah, Badlands, Old West, maybe?
No, I thought you said future or something. I don't know.
Yeah, set in the future.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood that. I thought you meant the movie.
What year do you think this is?
Are the Confederates in the room with us now?
No, we're still we haven't formed a colony yet.
Key your handset twice, son, if you can't speak because there's Brits around. So yeah, I saw that and I thought, oh, all right, that could be pretty good. But I hope, like I said, I hope that they do at least one where he wins. Otherwise, it's just more Worf-esque sort of stuff.
Doesn't he always win because he ultimately takes our humanity?
Actually, did they not win at the end of? It's true. It takes our life.
Well done,
It our time. Did they not win at the end of Predator 2 because Danny Glover, even though the singular Predator didn't win, they had him dead to rights. He was done. Yeah.
Who wins that battle? Danny Glover.
Nobody can win against Danny Glover.
Can't get off this toilet. I beat that Predator, but this toilet, it's got me.
The other ones let him go. They just wanted to collect the body and get the hell out of there so they could get rid of the evidence of what just happened.
Truth. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. This old fat man beat our Predator. Even King Willie couldn't do it.
Poor King Willie. Yeah. If only he'd had the fighting skills of a Glover. Yeah.
One of my favorite characters from that movie, King Willie.
King Willie. Yes. Babylon. That's right.
Babylon.
So yeah, I saw that, and I had mixed feelings about that. Every time I see they're making a new Predator movie, I have high hopes, and I did like Prey. I like that. I just knew it was going to end that way again, and that bummed me out. So anyway, there was that. But my more immediate concern as I saw that, because generally speaking, my feeling about the stuff that they come out with now, like the Gray Man and that sort of stuff, that ilk of movie that they seem to be coming out with now, it doesn't seem like we're going forward, really. It seems a lot like the stuff that they make by and large today, not everything, but by and large what they make today is a regression. So it feels more like I'm seeing like Helene was watching some movie the other day, Netflix thing, and it seemed to be about the level of maybe early 80s, early to mid 80s, as
my
far
favorite
as look, there were some good things in the 80s. Okay, there were The Thing and Predator and all that. But by and large, they were really good because most of the stuff back then was Commando level. That's the thing.
Don't disparage Carolco and
on Commando.
Don't disparage Carolco, Cannon, all of those crappy 80s action movies that they spit out of 50 at a time. They were fantastic.
Horrible.
They were, but they were great at the same time.
No.
They were our version, the American version of Shaw Brothers kung fu movies from the early 70s.
No. That's an insult. No.
Not all the Shaw Brother movies were good. There were a selection. Many of them were not good.
Yeah, many of them were not good. The Perfect Weapon or what? That was not. It was horrible.
Golden Arm, Five Venoms, crippled Avengers they're fantastic, but
I mean, nowadays it just seems like, what was the one she was watching the other day? There was every gunfight you have now. Understand, we've gone from where we worked our way up to like collateral level and heat level gunfights. Okay. And now we're down to maybe not even A team. This is stuff where I saw one the other day. They were in a gunfight where you could tell all of the shooting was digital. All of it was CGI, every bit of it. Guns, they weren't even moving their guns, pretending they were going off. I stopped the film at one point and showed Helena. There was a dude who shot a shotgun, right? Shot the shotgun, didn't move at all, didn't pump it. Nothing cycled, nothing came out, and immediately shot again. This is, where we are. And so I just wondered, Art, is it the same feeling you're getting where there's like a regression now in most storytelling where it's just churning out crap, huge amounts of crap? And I wonder if that's so. I've heard a lot of analysts saying that the coming year, there's going to be a narrowing or a winnowing away of many of the streaming services because there's too many. They can't make money. They've been essentially living on a wing and a prayer, trying to bring in viewership, losing money to do so, hoping they were going to get some numbers. And the only one really who's making money now is Netflix. And then you have like Amazon, which just has a lot of money to throw at something.
Prime,
But everything else is pretty much dead in the water. And so by the end, you're going to see this merging and buying up of all these other properties to essentially what we were before all this, where maybe you've got early cable level numbers. And just a paring down of all of these. What do you think?
I don't know. Apple TV seems to be doing well.
But they got money to throw at it.
They do. I think the free services are doing quite well, like Freevee, and now Freevee is an exception because it's owned by Amazon. Tubi, Pluto, those seem to be doing well. Their model is that it's advertising TV. It's like commercial television. They pay for everything with the commercials that they put before every movie that you see, but they show all the free movies that they get for almost nothing because they're either lower quality or in circulation or they're just sold off at low prices because they've been seen so many times by so many people. I think you're correct. I think Disney Plus is the next to go. I think Disney Plus is about to tank. Personally, I canceled mine. So
the only reason I still have a subscription to Disney Plus is because my daughter is using it so that my grandson can watch Bluey, right? Which I guess is on Disney. Otherwise, I'd have already canceled that.
Yeah, the children's programming, the Mickey Mouse, the retro Mickey Mouse cartoons that they had on there, I really enjoyed. I found them to be they were kind of a Ren and Stimpy. Jokes for the adults, jokes for the kids at the same time, with the division where the kids can't see them, but we can. That stuff was really good. But other than that, there was nothing. The quality had fallen so bad, especially on the Marvel and Star Wars properties, that I didn't want to even look at it anymore. It was so bad.
Yeah, but don't forget they also own Hulu. They own
Hulu.
I
canceled that too.
But I'm talking about as far as people and streaming services, and you were talking about which ones are successful. Well, Hulu is the closest to old network TV that there is. And so that with ESPN and the Disney Plus thing, they bundle it all together. And so that's the only other one I could reasonably see hanging around. But again, that's one of the big guys that has money to throw at it to be able to try to ride it out.
Were you a subscriber to Hulu before Disney bought them up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you saw when Disney bought them up how their model changed. They were completely non-commercial.
I know.
They didn't make their own stuff. They just got movies. It was a much better model from my perspective.
As a stockholder in Disney, the model that they have now is perhaps a little more financially acceptable.
You think? You think?
Yeah, I don't think so. But looking at that stock price, you might be wrong there.
As a stockholder,
congratulations. I think you're wrong.
No, I like bringing it up because it's such a trivial amount, of course.
Yes. Here's my letter.
Sean's got a fractional share.
Sean, I can't attend the cast today. I have to vote for Disney.
I'm gonna show up to the park one day with my
show up to the shareholder meeting.
Stock holding, yeah.
Shareholder meeting. I have half of 3% of 1% of a piece of stock. And
I got a few, but I mean, it's going to be funny showing up there and demanding a tour of my holdings.
Here's this garbage can, and here's the bottom of the garbage can. That's yours.
That's right. I'm going to go through with my clipboard and start writing down things I want changed.
We need to clean the bottom of the can.
There's too many plies.
He works for me.
Paper. That's a waste.
Hi, Bob. It's Sean. I have concerns.
I need to speak to Iger right now.
It'll be me calling Bob. I want to speak to Mickey right now. Get him on the phone. What do you mean he's not real?
And then you get
watching
him
right now.
Mickey on the phone. Put a chick in it and make it gay.
No, they've already tried that.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm just going off South Park's model at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I agree with you. Absolutely. I think we're in a weird state. Part of the issue that you're talking about, especially with the shotgun scene you were describing, I think that their quality of the people that were high quality, that were doing all of the back end stuff, the weapons fitting, the production, the action design. I think a lot of those people have moved on to other industries because A, they couldn't work at one point, and B, they don't want to deal with it anymore. So now they're getting maybe the second and third tier of employee that's left, and they're just like,
Well, do you think it's that, or do you think it's a sign of the fact that, I mean, for the special effects, do you think it's a sign of the fact that they don't have the money to throw at it anymore? They're looking at this and figuring, look, we can't keep floating this stuff. We got to start tightening the old belt.
I think it's a couple of things. Okay, number one, from a filming and liability standpoint, right? Look what happened on Rust, and it is more expensive to use, real guns, prop guns, blank firing guns, that kind of thing. So digital is the way to go. Like, it's easy.
The Baldwin effect.
You can use a toy gun. You can use, the airsoft guns. You can use props, whatever. It's so much easier to do that now. And it's not like you're putting together a $200 million Marvel movie to put in some muzzle flashes. And if you're going to go extra, you can throw some brass in there and have that come flying out of the gun. So, like, I understand it from a budget standpoint, and from it's easier to get this done standpoint. Like, all that makes sense. The more money you throw at it, and the more professional, high quality level you put at it, like, you can end up with heat, or you can end up with something that is, I'm going to use La Femme Nikita as an example, which from the 80s. Like, if you look at the gunplay in that, it's really not over the top, right? I read a book, about, kind of indie filmmaking, and they broke down one of the scenes from La Femme Nikita, and like, we could film that in our kitchen. You know what I'm saying? It was like she jumps behind this thing, and you hear the gunplay going off, and there's like plates and spaghetti falling down, and it looked like this really cool action-y scene, but it really wasn't like technically out of the reach of any filmmaker. You know what I mean? It wasn't John Wick, right? Where he's okay, we've got to coordinate this, and then we've got to, have all these stunt guys in here getting shot in the face, and that's a different level of filmmaking, in the same way that those, Hong Kong one-shot, 20-minute long fight scenes are, like, that's art. Most people aren't doing art, right? They're house painting. They're like, we got to do this scene where you shoot a guy with a shotgun, blam, blam. Okay, cut. We're moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
They're not interested in the technical reality,
the detail, quality,
how a shotgun works. They just want to tell the story and get it in the can and be done.
And don't you feel like or do you feel that is what is prevalent nowadays, or become more and more prevalent, is that level? Not that it hasn't always been there.
I think it always comes down to budget and director.
Yeah, cutting corners.
Right. Because like, if the person in charge of it and I'm going to use director. It's not always the director if we're talking about shows or whatever. It's a budget. What are you trying to do on a budget? Now, Battlestar Galactica, the TV show from Sci-Fi, was apparently very low budget, and they made that budget work. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, they did a really good job on a low budget. So budget is not always the driving factor,
Not always,
but it is.
but,
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you decide, okay, we're going to throw creativity rather than money at this problem, cool, it brings out the best. But there's not a lot of people who are willing to do that level of work, I guess, anymore.
Do you think
that's what it feels like?
Do you think it's a
passion? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you think it's a passion for the material that people are just cranking stuff out? They don't actually, that there's less care for the material that is being.
I think so, and I think that's from the streaming is part of that, right?
Yeah.
We're not making movies anymore. We're making content.
Well, yeah, no, I think yes, I agree with everything everybody said. I'll just leave it at that. No, it's
all right.
I think there's that element of it is that you're producing what Mark said there. You're producing content, right? But I mean, let's step back from them before streaming services. What were they, right? I mean, we had broadcast TV. If we're going back to the 80s, right? We're going home. We're turning on the TV. We're trying to find something to watch. Now, nobody ran home and said, "Oh my God, I can't wait to watch CBS tonight." Right? No, you're talking about a specific show rather than a specific network. And so when everybody turns into their streaming service, the question becomes, do you have enough quality content to keep people coming back after they've been binge watched the series they liked from 20 years ago? What do you have to keep people coming back? And these studios are throwing money left, right, and center at anything they can do to produce the content Mark is talking about. But what you're realizing in a faster, shorter term is that not everything you produce is a winner. And you can follow the recipe 100 times, but make some crappy outcomes, right? And then you'll get the one blockbuster hit. So, I mean, the question becomes, did the world need every studio to have its own streaming service? I don't know if it did. Now somebody could say, well, isn't that an argument that Xfinity, Comcast, or whatever your local cable provider is, that's the reason they existed? I don't, maybe initially that was the reason they existed. I think their existence later became just to torment my soul. So, I don't know that the individualized cable service is the answer either.
All right, I had two things to share. Number one, going to the cable companies versus the streaming companies. The streaming companies, when they started out, were all pretty reasonable, $6, $8, $10.
Yeah.
Okay, the most expensive one was $15. Okay, I can sign up for all of them, and it's about what I would pay for cable. But I have the flexibility of I can turn one off, I can turn one on. Even in my Amazon Prime, I can get within Amazon Prime Showtime, HBO,
Box,
whatever they call it, right? Yeah, I can do all of those, and I can turn them on and off whenever I want. Now, going back to the content thing, it feels to me like we've all been to Blockbuster Video back in the day, and those movies that were made and went direct to DVD are the equivalent of content, right? They're like, let's make something really fast and put it out and capitalize on whatever's hot, this month in Hollywood, ninja movies in the 80s or Westerns for a minute, that kind of thing. So I feel like there is this low quality, get some stuff out. But I also feel like they're trying harder than those days. Like Disney, I don't feel is like trying to put out Star Wars shows that are just like, let's hurry up and get something out that's bad.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Shut up and let me finish a sentence, you dumbass. Right? They're not successful.
The Mandalorian.
Right? They're not successful at putting out the stuff, but they're spending money. They're spending, time and effort to put these things out. I think that's really more of they're captured by the message and the DEI, and they want to, put all these. They're putting message over story, not trying to tell story. So the message is messing up their storytelling. Whereas back with the Blockbuster, it was all cash grab. Like, oh, Vanilla Ice is hot. Let's put him in a movie, and there you get Cool as Ice.
See,
I don't know if I agree with you though, because I think
I disagree.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think that they feel, or people making movies today, going into the entertainment industry today, think that they can, just put lipstick on the pig and we'll put lots of CGI in it. The story doesn't have to be there. Message being whatever it is, we'll make up any gaps by just making it look fancy. And
You'll eat
ultimately,
it.
at the end of the day, it doesn't.
You'll swallow it and like it.
But
Well,
regardless,
no disagreement
regardless
there.
of the
Yeah.
regardless of the purpose, and I actually kind of agree with Mark on that. But regardless of the purpose, to be honest, the outcome is the same, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys do feel that it feels
poor.
like it's regressing rather than moving.
Well,
I mean,
everybody's trying to feed off themselves. Okay, so the studios are trying to feed a beast
Yeah.
that's been created of current day, where everything has to be in real time. You have to drop an entire season at one time so everybody can binge watch a thing. So the viewing habits have changed, and the studios are trying to figure out how to match that. The public's demanding X,
Well,
and everybody's trying to figure out how to deliver X. The only way to do that is also by then churning out content, which, as we've already discussed, is questionable.
They moved to the bucket of crabs model. So there's a bucket full of crabs, and they're all trying to get over the lip, which is success, right? But they keep pulling each other down as they're trying to climb the bucket instead of allowing each other to get out on an independent basis. It just seems like they keep pulling each other down by, we're going to crank out this. They just keep adding more and more crabs to the bucket, hoping one will fall out.
I'm not sure I buy that, because like when you look at HBO, I'm going to use them as an example. My wife and I are currently watching The Wire, which is an amazing series
from 2000, or
like 2003, 4, 5 is when we're talking early 2000s. The writing is good. It's an amazing show. Okay, Sopranos started about the same time. Amazing show. Okay. Game of Thrones first.
So you're watching old
Deadwood.
Stuff.
We're watching old stuff. I know. Let me finish.
I'm waiting. Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. But HBO also has some terrible programming. So I don't lump it all like HBO sucks. No, who's running these individual shows? Who's the showrunner? Who's the team that's putting that together? The team that did The Wire care. The team that did House of the Dragon, which is another good show, they care. They're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Game of Thrones was amazing. It was the top of the heap until the showrunners got lazy and they wanted to run off and make Star Wars movies. And they're like, we're going to phone it in this last season. I 100% put it on those two dudes because they wanted to go do something else and stopped caring enough about the art to finish the story in a satisfying manner. And that is a cautionary tale of how you mess up one of the most iconic shows that has ever, been on television. And we saw shades of that with The Sopranos. Sopranos kind of ended on it wasn't a terrible ending, but it wasn't kind of what anybody was expecting either, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, Taika Waititi.
But just to make a point real quick, if you look at the arc of entertainment, you had I think a smattering of decent, real smattering of decent shows, but it got more and more prevalent up until shows and movies up until right around 2000, right around there. You had and that's when you had movies like Gladiator and Matrix and all that stuff coming out, all those, and you really had I hate saying this because you sound so ridiculous in some ways, that golden age of inventiveness. And it's cycled that way because you can go back far enough and you can see other stuff like that too with What's Up Doc, Philadelphia Story, and all that stuff from way back then. But then you have the 70s, which now you got Three's Company and all that crap. And then it started getting good again up until 2000. Then right about the time you start getting into the streaming service and stuff, you have some good stuff, but then it starts climbing back down. It starts rolling back downhill again to where you are now, where, like I was saying, I'm just looking at that show. What was it? Yesterday, day before. Helena's watching it, and she's trying to find stuff on there that's good, and she's watching a bunch of different things. But I mean, so much of it is just simply,
I think part of that's the American model, Sean, of looking at American TV, they run something for an extreme number of episodes for every season. When you look at other places, if we just compare it to UK, for example, where, maybe a show has 3, 4 seasons overall with 6 or 7 episodes a season, and you call it a day, versus the United States where you're trying to churn out 22, 23 episodes in a season. That, there's this extreme difference in how to produce.
Sherlock's a really good example.
I
of
would,
that. Like that was like 4 episodes, but they were an hour and a half long each or something.
I would agree with that. However, don't forget, you also have it seems to be taking hold globally. I've seen, because Helena watches a lot of foreign stuff too, and I've noticed even Korean and South
It's all
American,
that's available on some of the services anymore. That's all they can get rights to.
Well, sure, but I mean the inventiveness that you used to see, it seems to be harder to find, and maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just not seeing it, and I'm looking with I don't know, whatever, just rose-colored glasses at the past. But it seems like very recently, we had some much like Train to Busan, things like that, and now it doesn't seem to be there. It seems so much less inventive and interesting and compelling than it was. And I don't know. I just didn't know if you guys felt the same, or I feel like I'm living in the rebirth of the 70s in a way.
Getting back to Mark's point, though, I mean, you have a director like Taika Waititi, and I've seen this brought up numerous times in various interviews. He's the guy that did Thor Ragnarok. He's the guy that did Thor Ragnarok. Taika.
I got you now. Okay.
Crapo, whatever. But so he was lauded as a up and coming. Well, not up and coming, but he was lauded as someone who was changing the genre and doing good stuff. And he flat out stated in a couple of interviews, he said, "Yeah, I just did this for the money. I really don't like this property. I've never read a comic book. I think he actually said Thor is stupid."
It is.
So yeah, but
that's wrong.
That's irrelevant.
Is he wrong? Is he wrong about that?
It doesn't matter. The fact is he was tasked with creating multiple films which involve that character, and to have actual derision towards the character while you're creating it, that's going to affect the entire, not only the outcome, but the entire production.
You are not going to get hired at Disney unless you have derision for the underlying property. I thought we made that pretty clear.
And that's the problem. That's my point.
And let me say, I actually do like Taika Waititi's work in many arenas. Flight of the Conchords is amazing show.
I'm not saying he's a bad director. I'm just saying he hated Thor.
No, I get it. What I'm saying is that he has his bailiwick, and he does really, really well at it. Jojo Rabbit was really good, things like that. I don't know. I think that was not his thing. I loved Ragnarok, loved that.
I liked it too.
But yeah, the Love and Thunder was awful, and he has his bailiwick, and I wish that had been more accepted, so he could have gotten the success he wanted or whatever with that.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is we're talking about bigger problems, and there's reasons for it. And some of them are the studio system, right? Because the studios, they don't want to put out something edgy or possibly offensive or whatever. So there's this very let's water everything down or forget the good storytelling. We want to focus on some kind of a message, and both of those I think are bad, right? So that is at a system level. Then we're going to get to that next tier down of who's running this show, who's running this movie, and the director is a really easy way to do it. It's never just the director, right? Because somebody's put the money in. There's executive producers, all that kind of thing. And some people are just in it for some money, right? There's the creative people who are like, I want to do this show, I want to do this movie, and we're going to make it good. Does that director, I'm using that term generically, does that director or does that creative team, do they care about this, or are they just trying to get a paycheck? And I think we can look at the good ones, Breaking Bad, The Wire, The Sopranos, some other ones that we can come up with, right? And go, do they care? First season of The Mandalorian, right? Does, like we all loved the first season of The Mandalorian, right? And because it was basically a space western, and Jon Favreau cared, and you could tell that he cared. and his team around him. So, this working under the studio system, I think, is a problem. But we've also seen cautionary tales where a director is big enough that they can buck the studio system, and then we end up with the sequel trilogy. We end up with Avatar, and visually they look great. Third-grade storytelling, right? And so this, in some ways, the studio system can help. In other ways, it can suppress good things that might otherwise have come out. But ultimately, all of this is always going to come down to the creative team that is putting out whatever that piece of content is. Do they just want a paycheck, or are they trying to put out the best thing that they can? And Vince Gilligan with Breaking Bad keeps coming to mind because it is the high bar, right? There was no action. There was not a lot of CGI. This was not like spaceships and aliens or whatever. It was some dudes in Albuquerque doing cool stuff with nobody you really knew. Bryan Cranston was the biggest actor in that show at the time, and he was from Malcolm in the Middle, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't about the star power like some other things might be. It would be now, obviously, because they've all blown up. But you guys see what I'm saying is
let's look at a positive example.
And like Kelly said, they're trying to feed the beast. They cannot create enough fast enough to satisfy demand because we all want to watch something good, and there's not enough out there to watch, right?
So let's look at a positive example that may be coming in the future with our beloved St. Argyle Kent Henry Cavill making statements that he's saying that what he's working on for 40K is a privilege, that it's his life's desire to have done it, that he wants to make sure that he's true to the source material, that they won't put out an inferior project. The worm may be turning, but it depends on, like you guys are all saying, it depends on getting that right person in the right place. But the fact that he's making public statements about it to allay any of the fears that fans like us, concerns that we might be having, it's a good sign, I think. I think they may be, at least they're giving him the rope to hang himself with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, let's look at it from a different standpoint. What if Henry Cavill was not involved in this, and Amazon Studios was like, "Oh, we're so excited to play in the 40K universe. Look at us go!" Rings of Power.
Yeah, no,
right.
Look,
you know what I'm saying? Like if Amazon came out and said, "Oh man, we're so happy we just signed this agreement with Games Workshop. We're gonna produce some stuff. You guys are gonna love it." I think all of us would be like, "Oh God, this is."
But the difference is,
look,
right?
And I get your point, Rich. I mean, yeah, he's a big fan of 40K, super fan of 40K, and he's been pretty open about that. But even that, I mean, even with what you're saying, Mark, Rings of Power still sits out there. Like, is Henry Cavill enough to stop Rings of Power Part 2? And I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't think Games Workshop is a passive participant in this, right? If you look at all the terrible video game movies from the 90s, none of those game companies were active participants in, like, "Oh, you want to make a movie about our game? Cool, man. Here's let's sign this license, write me a big check. Cool, we just got paid." And they went out and made some U-Bowl crappy
out of the dark.
Right, exactly. So like none of us feels like Games Workshop is like, "Oh, cool, Hollywood money. We're going to cash this check. You guys can go do whatever you want with our property."
I would totally.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
well, that is the
one thing about, if there's one thing about GW, man, they are stocked full of super fans of the property. They really are. Even the people who are business folk generally do like the property. Yeah. Maybe they're not as deeply into it as everybody else who works there, but it makes enough that I think it satisfies, and I think they have enough people around them to say, "Hey, don't muck this up, or you're going to lose it really, really freaking quick." Which I think D&D showed can be done very.
Oh, D&D's a dumpster fire right now. Oh my God! Like they're going to study Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro in business school about how you mess up a beloved brand. Yeah, I mean the things they did are like super fast. I was excited for the next edition of D&D, and then they did dumb thing after dumb thing after dumb thing after dumb thing, and I'm like, 5th edition's fine. I'll just play that forever, or move on to a different game. They fractured. They went from the de facto monopoly You know, they weren't a monopoly, but they were the 80% market
They
share,
were the big dog.
90% market share to let's crap all over our fans and try to make this a video game company where we can get a revenue subscription from all of our players, which is fine. You could have done that had you done it a different way. Like, you know, if you bring me a virtual tabletop that already runs D&D, has everything baked in, it's got all the cool animations. Yeah, man, I'll give you $4, $5, $10 a month. That's what I'm giving to, you know, Netflix. I get just as much entertainment out of my online role playing as I do about, you know, watching some dumb show. I'm there. But no, you had to do all these other dumb things that now I'm just not interested, and the fan base is not interested, and everybody else is, you know, like, hey, you know, this open game license that's been around since third edition, you know, that everybody, that other people have kind of built businesses around, and has allowed us to create all this community content, and you're going to come in and try to revoke something that's irrevocable based on like a couple of little words that maybe some junior lawyer thought, hey, maybe we could do this. And you literally destroyed all the goodwill of the community. You tried to strong arm Critical Role and to get a piece of their action as a part of that. Like all of these things, they sick the Pinkertons on that dude who got shipped some pre-release Magic cards to get those back, rather than like, you know, hey, you shouldn't have got those. Could we maybe get those back? You're sending the Pinkertons there. Like it was dumb thing after dumb thing after dumb thing. And you know, like nobody cares about the next edition. You've messed that up so badly.
So you know what's funny about that is that I'm very familiar with the company that owns the Pinkertons, and all the missteps they've made, that goes right in line.
Yes,
everything they've done.
I know.
Anyone who knows that company knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. The difference between what we're talking about in 40K and Rings of Power, though, is that the warning signs for Rings of Power were there very early on. Christopher Tolkien's son, the Tolkien grandson, who after Christopher died was now the
executor or whatever.
The caretaker of the property. He had famously made statements before Christopher died about how he didn't like his grandfather's work. And that's the guy who's now in charge. That's the guy that Amazon goes to. So we're not seeing that.
And that's the guy who would say, oh, here, you give me a big check, knock yourself out, go play in that, and not oversee what they're doing with the property. Yeah.
And we're not seeing that Henry Cavill's, you know, even though he's just a spokesman, because there's a whole team of people that are working on it.
One guy. One guy isn't going to make or break this. We all like Henry Cavill. I don't want to disrespect him at all.
He's a pretty face.
I like him as an actor. I like his passion for the project.
Yes.
But Henry Cavill does not make a Warhammer 40K movie by himself, or a show, or a cinematic universe, right? But it's
over there stocking the craft table.
That's right.
He's one of the executive producers, and that makes a difference. He is one of the executive producers.
That's right. You know?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
He's over there showing.
I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. He's like, oh well, this doesn't look right. Let's fix this. I mean, he seems like the kind of guy that might actually try and do something like that.
No, I don't doubt it. I just like the idea of him doing
Yeah. This food's unacceptable. But my point being is he is also one of the executive producers who does have those decision-making capabilities that Mark's referring to. So it seems like all signs are pointing to a positive outcome. But again, I am tempering any expectations.
We're all cautious because of how often we've been burned by everything. Hey, a Halo show? That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, cool, man. They're gonna put Daredevil and you know, some of these
Echo.
You know, She-Hulk and you're like, oh, cool. I like these Marvel characters. Let's go see right. You know, and we're like, oh, what's the you know, some of the Disney missteps, there's too many to name, but you're just like, okay, these are gonna be great. Obi-Wan, there's a great example. How terrible was that? You know what I mean? It's like, we want what you're trying to put out. But you know, and again, that going back to The Wire, my wife and I are watching this, and we're like, this is so good. the writing is good, the pacing, the storytelling, and and yet from the same HBO, right? The same people will
People that brought you The
put out a
Wire.
dog,
Yeah,
right? So
well,
it's not this monolithic, everything HBO does is great, everything HBO does is terrible. No,
Yeah.
who's the creative people in charge of this? And
Yeah.
it comes down to the actors, and it comes to there's a lot of moving parts, but man, when it comes together, magic in a bottle. Right?
And they had a lot.
But with something like The Wire, though, I mean, there's also they were unafraid to tell the gritty story, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the story was, it's hard to look
Yeah,
at.
I don't think you make The Wire now, do you?
Yeah, right.
No.
Right.
No,
No,
you
and
do
that was
if you
that
want to
was
have a
my
good
point.
show.
That was my point. Is that I think now, like you said, Mark, I think they boiled it down to check boxes for the safest project you can possibly make of any given genre, and how cheaply can we do that and get that done, and just shove it out there, and hopefully someone is bored enough they don't have anything else to do, they'll watch it, and we can throw numbers out and say we've got this many viewership. And that's really kind of how it comes across now, because Helena will sit, I use her as the example, she watches most of it. She'll sit there on the couch doing stuff on her iPad, and she's got something playing on, Hulu there, or Netflix or whatever, that she's kind of maybe paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
Background noise, yeah.
There's not much other than, say, Dune, maybe, that kind of level of thing, where she'll sit there and actually pay attention to something. So I give it its props with that. The fans are the things I have the issue with, right?
No, but I'm saying that all roads lead back to Dune.
No, they do. But that's
next month.
Yeah, I was
looking forward to it.
End of this month.
End of this month?
Yeah. 29th. Yeah.
Yep. So we'll see what happens.
End of the month.
Denis Villeneuve is one of those directors that I do give him credit for the stuff he does. I don't like all his projects. I did not like Arrival and stuff like that, but he does. But
he's got passion for Dune, and it shows from everything that he's doing. Yeah.
Well, even the stuff I don't like that he did, you can tell he had passion for it, put a lot of effort into it. And I would still recommend it to people where that is their genre of movie. I would say, you want something that's good in that genre, go see this, because he loves what he does. And so, it comes through regardless. But you don't have many of that.
This brings me to Rebel Moon. Like, what happened?
Zach, he has no creative ability for actual script writing. He's like George Lucas without any controlling hand to say, no, this sucks, you need to re-edit this. That's really what that is. And he loves slow motion too much. You need to stop it with the slow motion. And
it's all sizzle, not enough steak.
Yeah, and he has passion for the material, but he's got to have material to work from. He's got to have something to work from, and it's got to be very specific. So I think Watchmen was great. I thought that was a really good movie.
Yeah, but it wasn't his work. I mean,
that's my point.
Yeah,
that's exactly my point.
Yeah. It was great work that he was working from. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. 300 was the same way.
Yeah.
The more freedom he has to create the story, that's where it really starts to fall down, as it were. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway. All right, boys. Thank you. That was enlightening and so satisfying conversation with all of you. And
once again, we've solved all the problems.
I loved it just as much as I love each and every one of you. And I want to give you a kiss.
That one was for the K-Man because he's the best.
That's your brother. That was a little awkward.
He's blushing.
I was going that direction.
Way uncomfortable.
You started with me.
How do you know?
Way uncomfortable.
I'm not telling.
Ending my masculinity.
How naughty was that ending? Was it Game of Thrones level naughty? We'll never know.
Game of Thrones level naughty.
All right, boys. Well, thank you very much. And hopefully your reading on The End and the Death is going well.
Done. Finished.
Yeah,
in the midst of it.
I just started it yesterday.
Very good. Very good. So you're not at the end or the death yet.
It goes pretty quick though, much faster than the second one. It's much shorter, but it does go pretty quickly. It moves along. So
all
you
right,
should.
boys.
Good
Well,
time.
thank you very much, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.